yet. Yet filled with his spiritual presence, for he equipped us with so much love and wisdom and certainly a generous nature. An integral part of this wisdom was the conversation that he and I had shortly before his transition 2 weeks ago. You see, we talked a lot. We talked a lot. And we talked about everything. What we loved, each other, foods, lots of foods, travel, and the holidays was a special time with family and friends. And of course you, our family in the center. But also, we were not afraid to discuss our beliefs either in life or what is termed death. And one such idea was that the eventuality of one of us flying solo. And how could the remaining one be loved and supported? We talked about that. We talked about that. We talked about, what about our worldly stuff? That's important to talk about. So we talked about it all. And we also prepared for this eventuality. Because it reminds me of, salud. Salud. Reminds me of a story of a pastor who was meeting with one of his people, his congregants, welcomed her into the office. She was ashen, she was tearful, and he says, "Sit down and tell me what's going on." And she was crying. She said, "Pastor, I just found out that I'm going to die." And he taps her on the shoulder and says, "Dear, you just found that out?" You just found that out. We know this, and yet how many of us are prepared for it? We were prepared legally. We did all of that. I'm so glad. I urge you, take that step. It makes living more alive. It freed me up to live, and really up to live more fully, because that foundation was firmly in place. And we also talked about, the moment of transition. What would that be like? What would we want? How would we like that to play out? What would it be like if we could choose? You know, Louis was all about choice, wasn't he? Yes. He always talked, what word? Volition. Always talked about freedom of choice. Let's say that, volition. Volition. He always lived and spoke and taught, we have volition. So Reverend Louis knew clearly what he wanted and didn't want. And so we talked. And so we talked. You know, he talked about the moment of transition as being healthy, clear of mind, healthy of body, no pain, instant, at home. At home. His favorite room in the house was the kitchen. One corner where he always stood and prepared. That was the place. He loved October. Favorite month was October. And then looking back, everything in our lives happened in October for us. So I moved, my first time in Chico was October. It was this kind of an October that we've had this year. Opened our salon in October. We moved in here during the month of October. Into our house the month of October. And I escorted him out this October. So for me, it brings comfort to start seeing how the life plays itself out. And like you, we were playing it out. I didn't realize until 2 weeks ago the process of recollection started, and it's been quite profound. So there is that fabric that we weave through life that we don't often see what we're doing consciously. And this is one of Louis' favorite Science of Mind excerpts from the textbook. When we realize that God and man are one and not two, we shall love both. We shall love man as an expression of God and God as the life principle in all. And that was Mark's favorite. That was marked in October of this year. Living a more conscious life begins with, I think, something realized. In the past 2 weeks, you and I have had a greater realization of the preciousness of this life. For me, after 42 years of creating a wonderful life with my beloved Louis, I am on my way to newness. And just as he is in a new level of expanded consciousness, we are as well. We are as well. He often said in many of the classes that he and I taught, once the student gets it, or once you more fully embody truth, we're out of here. We're out of here. So I have to know that he attained that place of the full, rich embodiment of a higher truth. Of a higher truth. A few of you may not have been witness to this, but I called Peg Bailey an intuitive. Who doesn't know who that is? Probably a few here. Okay, so she met with Reverend Louis after his hip replacement in March. She's been an integral part of a few of you here today. And what she said she saw in her own mind when told of the transition of Reverend Louis was that there was his mother embracing him and lifting him up. Now, believe it or not, okay, but for me, for him, he loved his mother. And it was very comforting to hear the possibility. Because who knows what the truth really is about that. But whatever brings comfort is what I like to know. So, my beloved, you got it. You attained it. And you made your transition as you did your life on your own terms. He always did it his own terms. And he always did it with love. There's a reason we chose, not we, but we chose and came up with the word of purpose as love here. Because everything we have done has come from that place and shall continue to come from this place of higher love. I stand here today as gratitude. Gratitude for what our two souls have wrought together and shall continue to provide into the world. Two individual expressions of the divine, living and loving and supporting one another and not allowing the petty stuff to neither derail nor diminish what we knew we had. Often we had some of those chats about what's really important. And the question was always, because we had those moments of intense fellowship, like most couples have, most relationships have. So, intense fellowship is a nice way to say, not always on the same page. And so, but we would always rise to a higher perspective, to say, is this thing, is this effect worth letting go of what is dear? And we are going to have some moments of intense fellowship. I know that. And I welcome the love and the enthusiasm and the interest that each of you have in whatever's next for the center and for your lives. I stand here as gratitude today for the Science of Mind teachings, for the Science of Mind and the term volition, for Louis as teacher, with myself as the student, and for myself as the teacher when Louis was the student. See, we traded off on that. He always said you could not ever not be a student. You're always to be a student. I'm thankful for this center, for you, your love, your commitment, your brilliant ideas. Because I know you have them. I've heard them. I've seen them. And your generous gifts. And for the questioning during the classes that Reverend Louis and I have taught. And there have been a lot of questions. And some people would have thought them as a challenge to the teaching. I saw them as an opportunity, and so did Louis, for a learning to happen, an understanding to be deepened. And so, the most important of all, I'm grateful for the love that's being felt right now. It is my intention to continue to live from this deep inner spiritual love and to allow that freedom of love to present itself in greater ways as the center. I know Reverend Louis is expressing in a different dimension right now, and I am supported by his loving spirit and by yours. I mean that. I've been called to give more love in my life, and you are the recipients. I'm inviting you, my spiritual family, to come with me into this new journey. I welcome you into my heart. Those of you who were at the service on Monday, remember Lynn from work, getting up with a ream of paper, saying that you thought this was the affordable health care. She knew Louis for 52 years, worked right alongside him. Right now, she is with her grandchildren, moving into life. It was difficult for her to go, but I said, you must move to life, my friend, you must move to life. And so, she had a dream. She had a dream that she and we were walking through New York City, as we did on Labor Day, along Central Park, on Fifth Avenue, and looked up, and there was Louis in the apartment he said he was going to buy. We told him to hurry up, or we're going to be late. He said he had 17 more ropes to iron before he could be down. That was the text I got yesterday. That was Louis. You know, he did 35 pieces of ironing the week before he died. He prepared me for the following 2 weeks to be well cared for. Was he conscious? I don't know. But I'm grateful. And another, Ryan Weller, who, those of you who got a program, he's the 6-year-old who wrote a card to Reverend Louis. He was so touched. They were such good friends. He was riding in the car with his mother last week one evening, and he looked up into the sky, and he said, "Look, Mom, there's Louie looking down on us." Little kids have it. They just remind us that those we love are still with us, no matter where we look. I want to read a section. It's called Change, and it's out of the book God is in This Place by Dr. Claudine Whitaker. This was a gift from Dr. Carolyn to me. Quietly, steadily, surely the great life force of the universe, if I cooperate with it, will bring into my experience every change necessary to my well-being and joyful self-expression. I do not have to dictate to it the exact form these changes must take. The divine intelligence which causes life to produce leaf, flower, and fruit on a tree knows what will be best expressed as my expanding spiritual consciousness. As I grow in awareness of God, love and fellowship surround me. Health and abundance are mine, new joys come to me, and larger opportunities for service appear. Infinite Mind has created me to be both its inlet and its outlet. Because I am a thinking being, not a plant, I cooperate with the divine law of growth by right thinking, pure desire, wise choice, and courageous action. Today I will seek to express love and wisdom. I will live and work in joyful awareness of the source of my being. I will speak my word with confidence. So through change, we get to grow in the goodness. I would like to share a letter from Reverend Andy Torkelson from the Paradise Center for Spiritual Living. He did the closing prayer treatment on Monday. He writes, Reverend Michael Benson, CSO Greater Chico, ministers, practitioners, board members, and friends. Reverend Louie touched the lives of this area's religious science community in profound ways. As someone who is associated with a close-by sister center, I know firsthand the profound impact his example of humor, wisdom, and grace had on local metaphysical seekers. Through conferences, I was able to see the positive effect his service and example had on the larger CSO world. I found myself feeling a lot of pride being associated with the same region he represented. Above all else, he beamed with pride when expressing his affection and joy toward his beloved Greater Chico spiritual family, like a truly proud parent. You're all very fortunate to have sat at a table with him, shared his laughter, experienced a class, felt the warmth of the twinkle in his blue eyes. Your sisters and brothers up the hill love you all, care for you, hold you in affirmative prayers, and share your knowledge that Louie is embarking on the next phase of his eternal journey with a little bit of all of us traveling with him. Our beloved teaching is richer, deeper, broader, and more profound because Reverend Louie continues to be an active factor in our movement. Your associations with him and the beloved center he co-founded are all parts of that unfolding legacy as well. Many infinite blessings and divine love. Love, Andy. And so, here we are, walking through a new door of potential, supported and nurtured and paved by love, and if we allow it, will be richer, more radiant, because as Reverend Louie said, if it ain't pretty, I want nothing to do with it. So, thank you so much for all of your love and your support and your prayers, and charity was felt by me. And I'd like to close today. It's a verbal and a physical gesture that we use between us. It was very special for us. And I'd like to share it with you now. And it says, I love you. That's the verbal. But it wasn't always spoken. It was this.